Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your Scorpio April 2022 predictions. I'm Nigel Saint James, as the subscribers will know, and that's who I am. If you're stopping by for the first time, it's great to see you. We all here hope to see more of you. Well, what have we got going this month? We are going to do 5 cards, as is usual, because that's all we need. Now, the deck that I'm using has a lot of Hindu themes, imagery in it. I've been a student of Hindu religion, theology, philosophy, and mythology for more years than I care to remember. I'm not a Hindu myself. I just appreciate the theology and the religion, as I do other religions as well. And when I talk about the mythology, you see, a myth doesn't mean to say that something is wrong. What a myth is a vehicle for giving language or enabling you to experience a spiritual mystery. And of course, Hinduism, which may come as a surprise to non-Hindus, but Hinduism is actually monotheistic, which is to say that there is one God, and that is it. In the same way as Judaism or Christianity or Islam, for that reason. The various avatars or aspects of that one God do make appearances in the Hindu tradition, and of course there's nothing wrong with that. But let's have a look at some of these images now, because we're going to pull the cards which are appropriate for you for this month of April 2022. There's the 10 of Staves. What else is there here now? The 10 of Lotuses. Gee, lots of 10s there. The 2 of Discs. What might be coming from in here? The 2 of Arrows. And what is in the middle here? And finally, the 7 of Staves. Well, come, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Then now I think you can see those. We might deal with this 2 of Discs, which is in the center, I think, first. See what this says to you. Well, without going into all of the backstory, there was a noble sage, Asita, who wept when he beheld the baby Siddhartha. Now, to the anxious king, the father, King Suddhana, the sage explained that he was bewailing his own ill fortune, for he would not live to witness the prince perform his mighty deeds, either as a great king or a world saviour. Well, the royal parent was most displeased at this spiritual option being repeatedly assigned to the baby prince. And so what the king did was he embarked upon an experiment, which is kind of, a bit disturbing to think in, to contemplate, even 2,000 or 3,000 years later, because the king decreed that a magnificent walled city be created, and the young prince grow up in it, secluded from all pain, suffering, and misery, and even the knowledge that such things existed was forbidden. He also kept the young man in a suffocating embrace of never-ceasing pleasure and amusements. Well, obviously, Siddhartha was divinely constituted, for he emerged from this ghastly pleasure prison as a person of great accomplishment over time, even though at first people obviously thought that he was a bit of a big baby when he emerged from this city. But let's see what it is that there is here in store. What's important also, I think, for you at this time is that the astrology of this energy is that of Jupiter, ruling the first decan of Capricorn, 23rd of December to the 2nd of January. Now, you might think that that is potentially inharmonious because Jupiter is all about expansion, enjoyment, merrymaking, drinking, and Capricorn is about conservatism and practicality. But we're in the 2 here, and the only card that's before the 2 of discs would be the Ace of Discs. And so this high up in the suit, I don't think that astrological problem is a problem. But what this is talking about for you is that there is going to be some change coming through your life. This is a time for you to be going with the flow in a way, I have to say. There's movement, flux, having a few ups and downs. There'll be growth that you'll be having through change. I think there'll be quite a lot of multitasking going on. And you might find that you have a heavy workload, but you will be enjoying your work. And this is a period, I think, which you might find to be a welcome change as you move into a better phase in your life. You see, Jupiter is there, the planet symbolizing luck and expansion. And that indicates that the changes coming in are going to bring luck and enrich your life. And the new will bring more stability and security. That's the Capricorn aspect with it. Now, the other thing is that there's nothing actually, set in stone on a material or a financial basis at the moment, so there's no drama around that. But this is also, though, this energy here, reminding you that you've got to get your day-to-day affairs in order. Now, I know it seems like a bit of a bummer, but the energy around here is one of good management of your practical personal affairs and finances. And although getting on top of bills and chores might sound like not much fun, it is nevertheless as important as pursuing more enjoyable activities. Do you know your life is subject to a constant change which allows you to grow, extending and expanding you, ultimately enriching you. Give yourself up to this transformation with trust and ask yourself what internal or external changes are going on in your life. Where are you still clinging? And say this to yourself: I trust in the harmony of my life and in the flow of my life. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. Let's have a look at this card that's on the top right-hand corner, because I'll do that afterwards and then do them. But let's have a look. What do we have here? Wow, isn't this a real Vedic image that's here? Now, what this represents is the perfect harmony that was engendered by the divine union, the divine marriage of Shiva. Shiva is part of the Hindu Trinity, Brahma the creator god, Vishnu the sustaining god, Shiva the god of change, destruction and renewal. And his wife was Parvati. Now, what happens here is that so perfect is their union that they literally merge into a new aspect of divinity. It is Andanari Ishwara. That is, kind of means half woman, half god. It is a union of complementary and necessary opposites. Now, this is a commentary, I suppose, on the inevitability of fusing masculine and feminine energies. And that's also illustrated, you'll see elsewhere, by the yin-yang symbol for optimism and abundance. However, in the yoga system of India, Prakriti, or yin, that's the female principle, is the activating principle, the female transformative power of our persona, while yang, Purusha, is the Shiva aspect, the witness. Now, even from a biological perspective, all embryos, of course, begin as females before differentiating into male and female. Did you know that? I can still remember something from my high school science class, which is good to see. Now, what we have with the astrology of this card here for you in the position that's here, and it's above this 7 of staves and across from the 10 of staves, that would make this Mars ruling the 3rd decan of Pisces at 9th to the 19th of March. Now, Mars is disruptive and it conflicts with peaceful Pisces. But there is nevertheless satisfaction, fulfillment, and a radiation of fulfillment coming from you. This also speaks to me for you of emotional stability, possibly somebody getting their dream home here, I hope it's you, a happy family unit, and your dream becoming a reality. There is a sense here, though, that there is a danger of a fleeting sort of happiness, a short-lived one, which generally comes about as a result of acquiring consumer things, which then lose their ability to fulfill you. You think that something's going to make you happy. You think that the new pair of shoes or the new purse or the new cell phone is going to make you happy, but then you get bored with it and you want to move on to something else. Now, in a relationship setting, it can relate to the loss of pleasure which the relationship brings. And therefore you have to either alter the dynamic of the relationship or move away from it. Now, if it's a close relationship to you, then of course you need to alter the dynamic. If you can imagine a bucket which is sitting underneath a faucet, well, when someone turns the faucet on and the water comes into the bucket, that water, that emotion fills until ultimately it spills over the top. So what you need to do is build a better bucket. It's not that you're not happy, but it's as if you are full, and in a sense you feel that you've come to the end of what something has to offer. But if you do reconfigure the relationship, then there is opportunity there for increased level of happiness. So let things develop by themselves, and everything will come to you at the right moment. Relax, close your eyes and breathe deeply and calmly. Let a picture arise in you which shows you in a state of complete fulfillment. And repeat this exercise often and connect this feeling more and more with your reality. Say this to yourself at this time: life gives me all that I need to be happy. Now, I said we'd go down to this one, so let's do so and have a look at it. Now, as far as the Vedic literature is concerned, it's actually quite complicated. Let me just sum this up by saying that the student defeats ultimately the master. The master has passed on enough skill, enabling the student to surpass him in this particular type of martial art. Now, the astrology associated with this for you is that of the moon ruling the 1st decan of Libra, the 23rd of September to the 2nd of October. Now, this is a really happy combination, you know. Your moon sign describes your instinctive or emotional energies. Now, with the moon in the sign of Libra, you will likely have a deep need for peace and harmony in your life. Now, Libra, as you will recall, is symbolized by the scales, and this can relate to any area of life requiring balance. This includes your personal environment, your work, or your relationships with others. But really, I'm getting the feeling here that the purpose of this energy is that of neutrality, that of being neither good nor bad, but balance. There's inner peace here and the power to make decisions regarding a situation or relationship which engender your emotional fulfillment. This is a time in which situations can be clarified and decisions made intuitively. Inspiration and ideas which come now are worth paying attention to. Remember them in order to be able to orient yourself by them in times of doubt and confusion. Now, the other thing that I'm getting here is that you may well have been having a hard time trying to make up your mind about something and you can't make a choice. Now, I don't think it's an acute thing. It's not large, but it's sitting in the background and it surfaces up every now and again. Maybe you're dealing with the pros and cons of a situation. Although this is a time of peace, really, it could feel to you as if it is stagnant or passive. But I think it is that you maybe lack the information that you need to make the right decision at this time. And when you get it, it's like the light goes on and you can see the situation for what it is, and you'll be in a much better position to make the decision that is right for you. Now, with the Two of Swords, decisions that you make should be geared to bringing about peace and harmony in your life. Now, what areas in your life are especially important to you? You can now come calmly to the necessary decisions. Take the time for deep relaxation. You are in a good position to examine your past, present, and future, and keep a record of your insights. But have this understanding in mind and this comforting thought in your heart, that deep peace fills my heart. Well, let's have a look at these two cards, which at least are connected by way of storyline, seems to me. Let's have a look. Now, the backstory is that this woman, whose name is Sita, was kidnapped by a guy who was the king of what is today Sri Lanka. Now, Sri Lanka is 880 miles or 1,400 kilometers in a straight line away from India. Now, Rama, her husband, called on his divine friends to help him build a stone bridge across the ocean, and then waged war for the myth has it as about 14 years to get the woman back. Now, the question always remained with the guy, Ravana was the man who had kidnapped her. The question always remained was Sita actually faithful to Rama during this period, or did she in fact sleep with her captor? But at this moment here, Sita has been rescued. In the ensuing celebrations over this fact, as well as over the death of Ravana, because Ravana, the evil kidnapper, was killed, there was always one awful unspoken question hovering over the minds of all. Did Ravana, that was the evil kidnapper, forcibly molest her, or did he not? Actually, he could not forcibly do so because his nephew, abhorring Ravana's lustful ways, had cursed him with instant death if he ever attempted to force, that is to rape, again. But Ravana had managed to hush this up. Nobody knew that. Now Rama, that's Sita's husband, he knows that there will never be any end to the insinuation, gossip, and malice if this issue isn't tackled directly. So he harrows Sita by giving voice to the collective suspicion. Ravana could never have been so self-controlled. Now what she does is she gets in the fire. And what she does is that, provoked beyond endurance with all of this, she orders the goddess Lakshmana to arrange a funeral pyre for her, as a life without dignity is worthless. Now, as the appalled audience watches this awe-inspiring act of courage of her getting onto a burning funeral pyre, a living Sita amidst the flames, the gods intervene. Agni, the god of fire, rises from the flames with an unscathed Sita and remonstrates, that is, he berates Rama for his conduct. So I think that she showed a great degree of inner strength and fortitude there. And you see, that was the trouble that women had in those days, very much second-class citizens, even those that were consorts to the gods themselves. The astrology here is Mars in the third decan of Leo, with a number 7 here, which is ruled by Venus. Now, Venus is what I see here mystically. So what we also see here is this is the 7 of fire, of wands. And so the energy of fire is weakened this far down the suit and away from, so far away from the ace. And it's further diluted by that feminine energy of Venus. Now, Mars in Leo, Mars normally likes Leo, but in this case, being so far down in the suit, the harmony does not exist. And as I say, not only does the feminine energy dampen the fire, but the feminine energy of Venus doesn't sit well with Mars. They are, in a sense, natural enemies of one another. And you may think that there's something going on where there is only your Mars energy that is keeping you going, and it feels as if you are fighting a losing battle. But you will have courage, daring, impact, and taking risks and making no compromises at all. Now, for me, Mars in Leo usually indicates someone acting with authority and power, but in this energy here, in this card, someone that you need to dig deep and use all your resources in what might seem to you to be a difficult situation. And there could well be a lack of focus or some desperation even in the way that you act. So much so that you could feel that you're fighting a losing battle or sitting on a sinking ship. But with this number 7 here also, mystically, I have very much in the mystical realm the concept of, it's difficult to put it into words other than to say the concept of victory. So you overcome this challenge that's being placed towards you. And being true to yourself includes standing up for your own truth, even in the face of immense resistance. Trust your power. In this present situation, you must assert yourself at all costs. Now, are you ready to accept all consequences? Become aware of whatever fears have prevented you until now from asserting yourself. And say to yourself, I express my own reality openly and honestly, and you will overcome these challenges and you will have victory. And that takes us finally, I think, to this one here where, and this is again Sita and in this case Rama. Now, Rama just doesn't know when to quit really, because he's banished Sita in deference to public opinion, but now he and his judgmental subjects are in trouble because he has to perform a fire sacrifice, but you can't perform a fire sacrifice unless you have your wife with you. So it's something which can't be done. And so a desperate compromise is sought. That is, if only Sita would agree to just one more ordeal by fire to prove her chastity, then perhaps, of course, Sita has had enough of this, and she calls upon the goddess Gaia, the earth goddess, to swallow her up, which she does. So there is here, it's not surprising, the astrology of Saturn in the third decan of Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius wants to expand and express its optimism and its spiritual side. And Saturn is all about restriction and forcing things along a path. And so it represses the expansive nature of Sagittarius. This is talking about repressed feelings, energy held back, maybe some isolation, aggression, being overburdened, or perhaps you taking on too much is what I feel here. Maybe you're a victim of circumstances, but again, you overcome them. Now, whether you are consciously repressing yourself or not, recognize that there is much more which you would like to express, experience, enjoy, and celebrate. Dare. There are some things you have always wanted to say to certain people. What are those things? And who are those people? And you can, for the time being, just for yourself, express those things right now. And say this to yourself: I have the right to follow my feelings and my life impulses without anybody preventing me or
Well,
repressing
thanks for
me.
joining me. It's been really great to see you, and I loved sitting down with you and doing that reading for you. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed providing it to you. And isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting, all that stuff? Well, remember one thing, of course, and that is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.